Hey, Holly.
Hey P.
Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of Live with Phoummala and Holly. So, yeah, that was our countdown. We are finally doing it. We've been talking about this since what? I would say the summer about doing
Hmm.
some type of live stream. We can help the community,
That's
and
right.
it's I feel like all this pressure that that I have been building on myself to make this happen is just like sort of released a little bit. So yeah, so today for our first episode, we're going to talk about certifications and the importance of them, and which path you're going to take, all that good stuff. This is actually just a series of streams that we're going to do that's going to focus on your career, helping you, folks in the community, whether it is progressing your career, dealing with imposter syndrome, all that good stuff. We're here to help. And by helping you, we are helping ourselves. And that's especially, as we found out too, when it comes to like upskilling, I definitely upskilled in terms of learning the stream, creating thumbnails, working with, Camtasia, Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, all that stuff. It has been such a ride. Wow, we're here, Holly. So, what
It's
do you
a
think
it's a
about
lot.
Yeah, what do you think about certifications, Holly? Do you have any actually?
So I don't, and I should for the simple fact that I've gone through the MS learning paths on my own just for fun. And at the time that I did it, I thought about getting a certification, and then I thought, well, I'm in a non-technical role. I work on Azure product improvement. I'm a PM running the North Star Partner Program and getting feedback. Why do I need a certification? And as you and I were talking, it made me think, one, I need a certification simply to tell myself I can do it,
Mm-hmm.
completely get me out of my own comfort zone. And then the other is I am in awe of the partners that I work with and how technically deep they are. And, they talk to me like I'm on their level. And I thought, this is a really good opportunity for me to push myself to go a little deeper in the technology so that I can add more value to the call. Their time is valuable to me, and I want to add more to that conversation. So there's a few things here, and I also think there's a huge trend in careers right now where people are realizing that they need to get more technically based and have that little badge that says they did it and they did the work and they put the effort into it. So there's a few things that are happening right now.
Yeah, I feel certifications are important because they pretty much tell people, potential employers, that you took the time, the
Hmm.
effort to study, to learn.
Right.
Um, you know, on the job training is great, but at the same time, it doesn't give it doesn't tell an employer that, hey, I studied for this. I know this particular skill set,
Right.
right? So it is. I feel like it's important, especially if you don't have a degree. Trying to get an interview into a job. If
Oh
you don't
yeah.
have a degree, that certification is pretty much sort of your little stepping stone in. While some organizations don't feel it's completely important to have a certification, because I've worked in
Right.
I've worked for those companies before. Um, it's like, oh, it's important, but it's not important. And I think they do it because they don't want to pay for you to take the certification. But when you think about, your career is more than just a job. I mean,
Hmm.
it can define you. So sometimes you kind of have to step out of that and going, okay, my job really doesn't care if I have a certification, but do you care about it?
Right.
Like it's beyond this job I may have for the next 5 years. It can define you for the next, 10 years, or another job.
Right.
It just pretty much says, this is my skill set. I studied for this. I learned about the technology, and I know how to do this stuff. And that's any technical industry certification. But, for the
Well, and
sake
there's
of,
another side to it, though, Pete, like to what you're saying. We're in such this fast paced industry. People may not have the time to read your whole resume.
Mm-hmm.
They might just go on LinkedIn, what's there. And if they see you have no skill, or not skills, but you have no certifications, they just next to the person that has, 5 to 10 and say, okay, these guys are really aggressive. This person was what they want. They went after it. They got it. And so in some ways, it's a super quick resume.
Oh, well, beyond resume, the technologies out now, 10 years ago,
Oh, so different.
yeah,
Yep.
it's completely different. Um, it's funny when you look at Twitter, people joke about the recruiters, looking for developer with X amount of years for this technology, but it hasn't been out that long. But that
Right.
certification, is the key. Like you said, it's the key because let's say you went to school, for a computer science degree years ago and programming. You didn't study all this other stuff that's out, the
Right.
new stuff. And the certification says, hey, I studied for this. I learned about this. I took an exam. I answered a bunch of questions that are relevant to this specific technology. And for the purpose of our episode today, we're going to talk about Microsoft certifications. I mean, we both work for Microsoft, so it's kind of a given, right? But it's also one of the top questions that I get asked when I used to go out and speak at conferences, and even now through Twitter, people ask me, "What is the best certification to get if I want to advance my career in Azure?" Right now I'm on premises, and I want to do more. I want to upscale. So that to me is like the biggest question. And so doing this episode is answering that question to everyone that has pinged me and DM me and on my Twitter timeline and stuff like that. So this is to you guys. This is dedicated to everyone that's asked me, how can I get certified? Which certifications should I take?
But I think the other side that we've talked about in prep for this is there's a lot of people out there that feel a little overwhelmed
Mm-hmm.
about these certifications. Like I mentioned to you before, you're one click away from a rabbit hole and you forgot what you even started to look at to begin with. And so we're here to help streamline what that looks like, but also make it fun. We're going to ask questions and we're going to find, updates that need to be made. And the one team that I completely admire is our docs team, no matter
Oh
what your
gosh.
service is, because we're constantly making these changes and updates. And so one, we're going to make it fun, show anybody out there that they can do this. And then we're going to pull in subject matter experts where it makes sense on these calls so that we can ask them all the questions. So it's a fun opportunity for everybody listening.
So before we actually drill into the Microsoft certification side and what's available now, what the path is now, because the MCSAs, the MCSEs of years ago, it's not the same anymore. There's slightly different paths to take. Let's get the certification viewpoint from our sound guy. I say sound
Sound
guy,
guy.
our sound guy Matt. Hey Matt, how do you feel about certification since you are actually out in the field?
Well, my experience is a lot like yours, P. So my experience, P, is a lot like yours. I came into IT in the mid '90s, and at the time, if you didn't have a college degree, that was the gate at the time. And so, to this day, I still haven't returned to college, but since 1995, I started spending time every year, grabbing at least a couple of certifications. That particular summer, 3 months, got my MCSE. Knew a little bit about Skill Unix at the time too, and plugged myself in. So for me, it's this continued kind of sense of accomplishment, a feather in my cap, if you will. But for a lot of organizations, it really still is kind of table stakes. And so for those that don't have formal education, you can still prove that you know what you know by getting your certifications, and really helping not just build up your own skill set, but also in support of the organizations that you're working with, you can help modernize them. You can help take what you learn and apply it to your job. So I see tons of value in it, and I'm excited to be working with you guys on this.
And I tell people it never hurts to get a certification. It's never gonna hurt your career, right? It's one of those things where it's like, if you take one, that's awesome. You're supposed to be our sound guy.
That's what happens when your wife calls in the middle of a of, of the stream.
It's okay. We're in pandemic times. I just had Ruby barking, and I'm sure we have our little hashtag there. I have to, watch my language sometimes with my dog barking. Yeah, she likes to bark at everything that flies by the window or appears. The mysterious cat that just likes to bother her. Okay, so let's actually just drill into Microsoft certifications. If you want to get certified in any of our certifications, we actually have a short link you can go to. It is aka.ms get your certs. Pretty easy. And then we'll show you right here. So when you go to that link, you're going to hit our Microsoft certifications webpage, which is posted on our docs website. And it is broken down into roles first. So you're going to see like this little block dashboard. And it pretty much is like, okay, I've got, my role as a developer, or I'm an administrator, solutions architect. And then if you keep scrolling down, now you're going to see this fundamental certification, and then the role base, and then your additional certifications. So back in the day when it was like the MCSA time, there wasn't really a fundamental certification. It was just kind of like, here's the MCSA, right? And here's all the courses you need to take. Here's all the the certifications you need to take to get this cert. I believe it was 5 or 6. Is that right, Matt? If you recall.
Yep, that's correct. It was the MCSE back in the day used to be 7, depending on which track you were on.
I think the MCSA I believe was 6.
The MCSA was 6. Yep.
The hardest one for me was the networking one. I struggled with that one. But here, so let's say you do have the role of an administrator, which is your average IT pro, right? Or your former MCSA. You could click on here, and it's going to take you down this certification path page now. Nowadays, Azure is the is the game that everyone's playing. And then once you get your Azure administrator, you could go into other specific fields here, or specialties. There's the M365 messaging one, which, as Exchange Goddess, I thought about taking it, but since I'm more focused on Azure, I haven't. But there are a whole other set of roles here that you can actually take and go down that path.
So
if you want to get more specific. I'm sorry, Holly.
No. I was just going to say, so I think the long and the short for a lot of people that are listening, you've had the question, what certification should you get? And from what I'm seeing as a starting point, it would be the Azure Fundamentals AZ900. Is that?
Yes. So the the Azure Fundamentals AZ900. Gosh, use these tongue twisters. That is the basic foundational certification that I feel anybody that's going to be working in Azure should get, regardless of your role, right? Developer, M365, like, get the AZ900.
It just kind of it gets you started. It gets your foundation going for what the next thing is.
Well, yeah, because it's just not about the tech, right? So right. You can see here it describes cloud concepts. That's the tech, our core services. But it also talks about cost management and service level agreements, which honestly, I think everybody needs to understand that. Even if you're a developer, especially if you're a developer,
right.
you should know these things. If you are spinning up Azure resources for a test environment, you should have an understanding of like, okay, if I just spin this up,
what will that cost me?
Exactly. Like identity and governance, privacy. We all should be concerned with that. Privacy and governance.
Now more than ever, now that we're all remote, I think, and how I'm going to step back a minute for the cost management. How many customers and partners have you and I worked with where they said somebody somewhere spun up a VM and suddenly we have this cost that we've encountered and we have no clue where it came from. So I think understanding how doing one simple action can really impact, your budget for that, your spend for that month. And it just kind of gives you a whole picture of Azure and
Well,
that 900.
so we have the AZ900, but then there's also fundamentals for Microsoft 365. So that, we'll go into this, we'll drill into here. And this is the fundamentals for Microsoft 365, cloud concepts, the core M365 services, pricing and support. Well, we're not all salespeople, right?
No.
We're not. None of us are in sales, but everybody should have an idea from a pricing and support concept. There's no numbers there, but it does review what's all entailed, especially if you are looking at the different E's, right? E3, E4, E5. I honestly, it changes. I don't even know the numbers anymore. And then again, security, compliance, privacy. Those concepts that are so important in all our services that we provide. And then there is the fundamentals for Power Platform, and this is our citizen developers. And again, that's all all that foundational knowledge that you need. So we have these three fundamentals, but who's to say that I'm an administrator for servers and infrastructure? I can take any of these fundamental certifications. Nothing is stopping me.
Mm-mm. Well, that's like even when we just went browsing through the certifications that are out there. Just because you fit a certain role doesn't mean that a certification won't be of interest. And here's what I like about MS Learn for people that are listening. You can go through the path. It doesn't mean you have to go and get the certification. They give you so much free content just to understand the basis of it. And then you can decide if it's worth, taking the next step. And I think that's really important because it shows that Microsoft cares about all the technologies and educating all different skill sets and roles.
I guess my point I want to get to people is you define your path.
Absolutely.
You really do. Okay, you're an IT pro. Yes, the administrative role is probably a great one, but let's say you want to kind of broaden your horizons a little bit, or you want to move into a different type role, maybe an architect. Go for it. Yeah. You can. It's up to you. If you want to take a solutions architect, certification, there's nothing stopping you because you're still going to need AZ900, the Azure fundamentals, right? So once you take that certification, that foundational one, you can go anywhere. Like, your path, your destiny is all up to you, what you want to do with it, especially if you want a different job. Like, let's say, like back in the day, I was a server administrator, but I wanted to focus more on Exchange. I could have taken the messaging one. It was all up to me on how I wanted my career to go.
Right.
Well, just go back here. I mean, like your point, right? Your point earlier, there's so many options for you that we have, to choose from a certification. So what we'll do now in our next set of streams, we are going to be focusing on Microsoft Learn learning paths, which help prepare you to take these certifications. But today, it's all about the actual certifications. So, but to prepare for a certification, you could take the MS Learn learning paths, all the different modules, which I can't wait to start our next.
I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous, but
it's all good, Holly. It's all good because we're all here. We're all learning together.
Yeah. Hashtag.
Yeah. Hashtag. We're all learning together. So I'm excited to start it because I want to show people that to get your certification, you don't have to take all these expensive classes. Because I remember getting my VMware VCP. I took I think it was like $3,000 that my employer had paid for me to go. And it was a 1-week class. I actually had to travel for it. And I sat in this room for a week and, I learned all this great stuff. And then I took the certification and it cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And a lot of organizations just don't, nowadays, they just don't have the budget for it, right? And showing people the content in MS Learn is great because it's like you can get certified and you don't have to spend that much money,
Right.
if any. Like MS Learn is free, and for the most part, the AZ 900, you could you could learn everything you need to know to pass that exam using the MS Learn learning paths. But there are additional resources out in the community, which we've gathered. Some of the I don't want to say the key ones, but highlighting some of our friends in the community that worked really, really hard. And I know, Holly, you've selected a few of them that have done so much for the community.
Yep.
So
So I think that's one thing that we should call out is that we're not here just to go through the certifications, but we're also here to provide you with content so that we can help provide you with outside resources that are free, highlighting the work of our MVP and cloud advocate community. So if anyone's listening and you've written a blog or you have information that helped you when you were doing your certifications, we would love to hear about it. Just, tag us in your post. We would love to add it because this list, we're hoping is going to get bigger and bigger. I'm definitely advocating for people in the community to reach out to me. And I would love to pull Matt into this, sound guy. Tell us for people that haven't been through it. So like me, I was asking a bunch of questions. I had no idea, with the last 5 minutes of the show. Tell us what your experience was like for the brand new person saying, I want to go get certified. Walk us through the end-to-end experience and then what looked like for you.
Oh man. Daunting at first, right? Because at the time too, depending on where you're at in your career, especially the kind of dipping your toes first into certification path, if you don't know the best resources to go get, right, where to find the information that you need, where to get an idea about who you can ask for help, right, and really getting a good understanding of the best certification path for you, kind of as you guys have been talking, understanding the difference between what you need to know, kind of getting into fundamentals, and then ultimately, building a path for yourself that's not just going to help you kind of enter or clear the first few doors, but set yourself up for success down the road. So for me, I mean, it was really about finding the right resources, and then ultimately, establishing some relationships with people who are also kind of facing the same types of hurdles. So, what's exciting about this process and your guys' show is the fact that you're going to be able to bring folks in from the community that can talk about their experiences. We can start leveraging some of those resources, like you called out some of the MVPs and the friends that we have at Microsoft, and even some partners, and then really kind of set people up for some success. So. It'll be exciting, and I think it's going to be a much easier road to hoe for a lot of other folks, maybe than it was for us as we kind of started our own journeys.
So the one thing you said that I just have to call out, I just did an interview today with a different podcast that I run, Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community, with Isadora Katanik. And that's the one thing we constantly tell people. I'm always talking about how Phoummala supported me and what kind of, tech should I get? What kind of mic, what kind of webcam, what kind of setup? And so what you're saying, I think is huge. Don't feel like you have to do all of this all by yourself. Go and advocate and ask people for help in the community that you respect. I can't tell you how many times I'm texting Phoummala, I need to get this, I need to get that. What do I buy? What do I do? And so that's where this comes in handy, where we're saying we know people in the community that have already done the legwork and we want to share it with you, right?
Awesome. So, speaking about community, one of our MVPs, Matt, you can stay on the line, sound guy.
I don't really enjoy the camera quite as much as I used to. So,
well, the next few episodes, I don't know, we'll have to like pull you in,
Yes.
get you on the camera to make you more comfortable. Okay, so Gregor here, I absolutely love Gregor because me and him share a love for desserts. We met in Prague, and he actually has a website here that is pretty much just dedicated to Azure and learning. He's got study guides, and you know what? It's free stuff that he has done to help the community. So we definitely wanted to highlight him. Yep. And right there on the bottom there, you can see the link to his website, which if you go, you'll see for yourself, right? There is just his latest one he just posted is the study guide for the DP 300. He posted it on Twitter, and I was like, dude, he's just like cranking out the certs.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else to do during pandemic time. Another one that we want to highlight is Richard Hopper.
That's right.
Uh, I'm trying to remember if I actually met him or not. If I did, I'm really sorry. I don't remember. There's so many people that come up to me. So if you meet me in person, do something crazy, not like crazy, but stand out. So I'm reminded, like, oh wow, that's who it is. That's why Gregor stands out, because we had desserts all through Prague together.
That's the one thing I always say. When you go to an event, humanize it. Go have a drink, have a dessert, go get a coffee and chit chat. Sometimes I just say, no more tech talk for 5 minutes. Tell me about your family, your wife, your kids, and your favorite food. And that's how I remember you. But I will say with Richard, he is so passionate about AKS. He's someone that if you are wanting to really learn about Azure Kubernetes, he is someone you want to follow. He's currently working on a zero to hero type of concept for AKS. So definitely someone to follow as far as one specific technology.
Last but not least is Thomas Maurer.
Who doesn't know Thomas?
Yeah, he's actually my teammate. He's one of the cloud advocates that works with me for under Rick Claus. We pretty much, our audience is the IT pro, and you can't get any more IT pro than Thomas Maurer. No. He is awesome, and he just cranks out content. Like, I am so jealous of his ability to crank out content. I keep thinking to myself, wow, when I was younger, I should have done stuff like that. But I was too busy doing migrations for Exchange, where Peter Ving, hundreds of machines into VMware clusters that, I probably should have documented all of it. But I see Thomas doing all this, and he's doing it for the community, right? It's not for his pure enjoyment. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing that the stuff that he just pumps out to people.
The two people that I don't know that I added onto this list, which I should smack my own hand for, one is your team, Sarah Lean. I really
Sarah, we're so sorry. We love you, Sarah.
I should have added. That's my mistake. But I think for myself, I really enjoy Sarah's posts because they're clean, right now. They're concise, they're simple to follow. You walk away and you feel like you learned something, and they're fun. It shows her personality. Definitely someone that you want to follow. Maybe she doesn't do certifications in specific, but when you're thinking about learning more pieces of Azure, she's one to definitely.
Sarah Lean. Apparently, there's another Sarah Lean that writes children's books.
That's not her. That's not the one.
Yes, I love Sarah. She and I we did Johannesburg together last year. That was her actual last trip before everything started shutting down. And we had great ice cream on Mandela Square. So.
And her background is Azure user groups. And so she comes with a different perspective, not only inside of Microsoft, but her genuine passion for the technology. And
she's IT pro. Like, she is hardcore IT pro. She sort of came from I don't want to say the same background as me, but she is in the weeds, doing servers, migrations, probably crawling underneath the table, plugging stuff in.
Totally.
Like I used to do. So, Sarah, we love you, and we are so sorry we didn't have you already up here.
We'll change it. And the last but not least, with 1 minute to go, I would love to call out Ed Baker from the MVP community. So the one thing with Ed that I love, he was recommended to me by Simon May, who I have the utmost respect for when it comes to Microsoft technologies. And Ed Baker comes from not just the Azure side of it, but the M365. And so he comes with a whole lot of deep technical knowledge, and he is just one of the sweetest guys. So those are a few we're going to share with you.
We can go a little bit over today just because it is our first, and because I do want to highlight Skyline Academies. So yes. So we showed you the free community content for study guides, but there is paid as well. Skyline Academy, they offer great learning resources that you can pay for different study guides and resources. And there's also Pluralsight. Who hasn't heard Pluralsight?
That's right.
We've got some great authors. Actually, a former teammate of mine, Michael Bender, is an evangelist at I guess, is that the word that we use now? He actually worked at Pluralsight now too. He was a Pluralsight author before, and actually Teresa Miller, our co-host over at the Current Status, our sister show, she is a Pluralsight author, and Sonia Koff, my teammate on a modern.
Good.
Yeah, so I mean, Pluralsight, great content. You gotta pay for it. It's subscription based, but there's more than just Microsoft there. There is soft skills, which I like to call human skills, but there's VMware. There's, all sorts of stuff, AWS, Google, you name it. So it's got just I'm going to use Anthony's word, plethora of learning content. And then Cloud Skills IO is another one that focuses on getting you upskilled for cloud and DevOps. Dare I say that word, DevOps. So that is a great place that also has not free, but paid training. So that is all I'm going to share from a community additional resources that is beyond the Microsoft Learn and our Microsoft Doc site.
I think it's
so what do you guys
helpful.
think?
I think it was a great start. I'm ready.
Are we ready to start
We're
learning?
Ready. Yes.
Get your learn on.
You know what? Like I feel like I'm gonna switch to this other system now.
Hey, I feel like I need to add another hashtag here. Do something crazy. I think we need hashtag do something crazy.
Yeah.
If they're going to come up and introduce themselves, that's what you want to see.
Can we put some guardrails on that though?
Well, like at least I didn't have to do the. Do we have to bleep me? I think we can bleep me. God damn it, Ruby.
We have it. We've got it.
Yeah, that's my dog. She is a Cavapoo and she just barks at everything. And when we were doing our dry runs, she would just bark at everything. And every minute I'm like, God damn it, Ruby. So she's actually behaving because I put a whole bunch of treats out for her. So this is, I think it's been great. It's our first episode in the bucket. What do you guys think? Let us know. If you don't like it, you like it. What do you want to see from us? Send us, comments. And then we also are going to be releasing intro videos about each of us, our career journeys, and why we're doing this, and why this show is not called Live with Phoummala, Holly, and Matt. So stay tuned for our intro videos coming out. And if you like watching us and want to see more of our stream, subscribe to the Current Status YouTube channel. As we're going to be streaming every Tuesday, Holly, 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, our sound guy,
Eastern Standard.
2 p.m. Eastern Standard. And Matt, our sound guy, will be with us as long as there's no customer escalations.
That's right. Customers come first. That's
exactly. Right. So if you see me scrambling to get stuff on the screen, it's because our sound guy is helping out a customer, you folks, becoming successful with Azure. And that's all I've got, folks. So thank you again.
Yes, this was fun. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.